Hey class, Professor Joyce, how are you? We are now in week 7 of class. So for this week, we have the dragonfly effect. This is the chapter on focus, which is pages 19 to 48. And the Tao of Twitter is chapter 6 to 10. And actually the pages in the new revised edition is pages 57 to 114 for those of you who have the revised edition, but it's still chapters 6 to 10. So this week, I want to talk a little bit about each of these. When we started the class, I've really threw you straight into Twitter with not a lot of direction, just kind of tweet the following, retweet, do this. So now, especially in Tao of Twitter, as you've begun to really experiment and to follow a lot of my direction, this will begin to explain and unfold a lot of what this all means. And so to take a quick look at chapter 6, which is the providing meaningful content, certainly this is where you're learning what to tweet. Kind of, on one hand, it's easier just to be told what to do, but it'll give you some tips as to what is a great beginning way to start. So again, many of you who've not used Twitter, again, I knew I threw you into this, and you've really hung in there very well. But this will begin to break down and explain some of kind of, when to tweet and retweeting and, having videos and whatever on there. So the other on chapter 7, and for me, this is really at the heart of Twitter. So one of the classmates put a tweet out there this week and said, no, I'm not too sure about Twitter. I'm liking Facebook better. So what do I think? So there's a lot of different ways to connect online. But for me, Twitter, this is how you speak to the world, and this is how you can introduce yourself to anyone authentically. Facebook is wonderful. Facebook is for people you already know, pretty much, and that you're connected with. But Twitter is our entry into introducing yourself as a budding professional, as somebody who's passionate about a particular project. And this is a way that you can, as in Chapter 7 explains, how to really be authentically helpful. So some of the examples of being authentically helpful are covered in here. But for instance, this week I had asked you about the author of Tao of Twitter, Mark Schaefer. I put a tweet out there, and some of you retweeted that. And some of you said, oh, the author responded. So you think, oh, isn't that great? Isn't he responding and being nice? On the other hand, think of it. We're using his book. By the very fact that you mention his name, continues to show that he's relevant, that there is an authenticity, and he said thank you. So in a simple way of mentioning somebody's Twitter name, mentioning something they work on, you are being helpful. So you have been helpful to him as you've been helpful to organizations that you are looking to do your field report on, and you're tweeting at them or sharing information about their organization. So you are being authentically helpful, and so there's a little more explanation about what that is here. And so I just wanted to touch on a couple of the highlights in the book. And then chapter 8 is unraveling Twitter. And a lot of this we've talked about. Obviously, direct messaging me is really a very effective way to get in touch with me. So it explains direct messaging, following or forwarding. And some of this you may think, oh, I already have this. But this will go into a little more detail about that. And then chapter 9 is on hashtags. As you know, we have a hashtag for the class, PAF3201 S16, and I use the same tag for every semester, but I change the last 3 characters. So this is S16 for spring 16. Actually, in the summer, when I teach this class, it'll be SU for summer 16, and then for the fall, it will be F for fall 16. And so if you go in and you look at the hashtag for PAF3201, you will begin to see all the different classes that have taken this and if they still use that. So it's a way to connect. It's a way to bring your community together. And it's also to share a message. So this will go into a little bit more about the history of hashtags, how they started, and then how to discover them and how to do research. If there's a particular topic you're looking on, you can, this hair is in the way today, how you can research that. And then finally, chapter 10 are Twitter lists. So again, we started this class, I kind of threw you into the mix, and I created a class list. So if you go to lists that you are part of, I have included your Twitter name on the list for this class. There are 43, 44 students in the class between the two sections. And that's a way to follow your classmates' tweets by you could just follow that list. So this will go into a little more explanation about Twitter lists. So you've been living it, and now you get to read about it, and I'll post a couple of questions in the assignment area on Blackboard this week. And then the Dragonfly Effect, our other book for this week, is chapter, well, it's page 19, chapter 1, Wing Focus, How to Hatch a Goal That Will Make an Impact. So this is a kind of more methodical way of establishing a social media campaign. And there are a number of case studies in here, including mentioning Lady Gaga, including the original 2008 campaign for president, what happened there, and it takes you through the methodology that these authors have put together, which is how do you create a campaign on, they're using the dragonfly as an example, and there's 4 wings. And so this first wing that they're going through is talking about focus and the 5 design principles to focus. And the 5 turn into the acronym HATCH. H stands for humanistic, to focus on understanding your audience rather than making assumptions about what could be quick. Actionable, using short-term tactical micro goals to achieve long-term macro goals, micro goals to macro goals, and then test it before you launch. Have some metrics of how you can make sure you can evaluate your program. Clarity, keeping your goal clear to increase the odds of success. And happiness, you want to make sure whatever you're doing is meaningful to you and your audience. So again, this is their way that they come up with that. So I'll also post some questions there, but this will give you the tools beginning as you, no matter what you do after this class. I mean, this class is, I am giving you real live examples. I'm throwing you in to let you participate in social media. I have you selecting an organization you're passionate about. And then both of these books will begin to give you the structure that will tell you, okay, based on what I'm doing on Twitter, and Twitter is one of multiple things we could have used, but I find it's very effective, especially as you're reaching out to organizations. And then with the Dragonfly Effect, even though it talks about sometimes not-for-profit, you can really structure campaigns around these principles. And so whatever you wind up doing after this, think of it in any organization you're going to work in. How would you effectively bring people together for a common cause? And how do you connect with them and to share a message and to really measure it and to make sure it's meaningful and makes sense? Okay, so that's a quick thing on the books. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the field report. The field report, I've been getting some questions, which are terrific, and so I thought I would just share it here on the video. The template is a format. Now, I would like to see you use the format as a way to begin your outline your draft of your event that you've attended. But then the actual report, you would create an essay form, but using the template as a guide. So again, I'd like to see the first version of your field report in an essay format using the template as a guide. So I don't want you to fill out the bullet points and yes or no, it was hot or cold. It's a guide. And then you should refer back to that to make sure you're covering most of the points Or if they're not relevant, you'll say, in my particular situation, they didn't serve food, or whatever the following is. So hopefully that'll be helpful. And again, this is the first draft, so you will, this is your opportunity to put it together. I'll take a look at it, I'll give you comments, and then your final draft will be following, my feedback. And then the final version will include your addendum, like what have you learned or what else has happened since the time you went to the event, and some follow-up. So that's it for today. So this was a little longer video, a little over 10 minutes, but I did want to cover a little bit more in detail about the books, and then I did want to clarify about the field report. I will shortly put up a new assignment section, and I am currently looking through and grading last week's assignments. So there'll be a new assignment up for this week, and then I will, I think that's it. I will put up the link to submit your field report next Wednesday. So it'll be about a week. And then you'll have until the 29th to submit it. So I'll give you a week if you want to send that in. And we do have a short week. There's no Friday classes, of course. We're online, so, we're open all the time. And but for those of you who are ready, you can begin to submit that. But for this week, read the 2 books, answer the assignment questions that I'll post shortly, and continue to send your questions if you have any. And certainly, if you haven't attended your field event or your interview, clearly we've got a week left for that. So make sure that's on track. Okay. So that's it. I wish you well, and love the tweets, and go forth. All right. Take care. Bye.